Welcome to the Audio Inc. Radio podcast, featuring interviews with the biggest names in rock and metal, hosted by Anne Erickson.
Get inked. Visit Facebook.com/Audio Inc. Radio, Twitter.com/Audio Inc. Radio, and AudioIncRadio.com for more ink.
You know it's time for another edition of the podcast. I'm Anne Erickson. Awesome to rock with you and link up with me online, get to know me, chat with me, all that fun stuff. Twitter and Snapchat at Anne Erickson, Instagram and TikTok at Erickson Ann, Facebook at itsmeann.com. And if you are listening to the podcast for the first time, first of all, welcome. Happy to have you. Also, please subscribe wherever you rock out to podcast. Really appreciate all the great reviews. It definitely helps. So thank you very much. I am very excited about the guest today. One of my favorite bands, Cold. These guys their music moves me. It always has. It always will. You're the Spider, one of my all-time favorite records. I'll never forget the first time I got to see Cold in concert. I think it was around 2008, and at the Machine Shop in Flint, went with my friend Rebecca, had a great time. I was so moved by the performance. Their music always really speaks to me, and I think that you'll enjoy the interview. Very excited to have Scooter on the show. They've got a new record out called The Things We Can't Stop, which is great. And of course, we'll talk about coronavirus, which I hope that you are doing well and staying safe amid the coronavirus pandemic. Very excited to rock with you, so let's do it.
Hi, this is Scooter Ward from Cold, and I'm with Anne Erickson on Audio Inc. Radio. Hey, Anne, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. It's kind of crazy, but I'm okay.
How are you? It's a little crazy, right? Are you guys working from home and stuff, or are you guys still amongst everyone?
Oh, yeah, we're at home. It's just...
Good. Nice.
Yeah, and you guys, of course, are at home right now, right?
Yeah. Hell, I'm a recluse, so I'm always at home anyway, so it's kind of normal for me when I'm not on tour. You know, I'm just kind of, me and my family stay at home. Huge of a change for us. However, you know, I guess we'll get into that in the interview a little bit. But you guys are okay? Everything's good?
So far, everyone is okay. So, knock on wood.
Yeah, no doubt. Have you met anybody yet that has got the coronavirus or contracted it?
I haven't, but I've heard of people, you know, on Facebook or whatnot, and some people who work with people who work with other people who I know, you know, that kind of like 6 degrees of separation. So, how about you?
Yeah. No, same thing. Right as of now, we're still kind of, you know, just I have friends and friends that have had it and stuff like that, but nothing really is at home yet. Scary though.
Yeah, well, before we talk about the coronavirus craziness, I want to say that I really love your new record, The Things We Can't Stop. It was great. Yeah, it was great to get some new Cold music after a few years. So what made now the right time to release a new Cold album?
Well, I've taken off a substantial amount of time from our last album, from Superfiction, because my sister had gotten melanoma again throughout her life. She'd had it twice already. And my thing was, the first time it happened, I was always on tour and traveling a lot, and I wasn't able to be there for her. And she's my little sister, and we're just the two siblings in the family, so we've always had a superior bond. And it was really painful for me to be out on the road and to know that she's hurting and I was so far away from her. So when it happened again, I was just like, you know, what's more important, my family or music, right? So it's always family. So I decided to just, honestly, just kind of quit the music business. I was like, I'm done. I just want to be here with her, and however long this takes, no matter what happens, I want to be here through the end, and hopefully everything works out. And of course, that was like a 5 or 6 year stint, to, you know, the therapies and all the stuff that happened with her. And so I stayed until she was clear again from everything. And then when I moved out to California to be closer to my daughter, my teenager, Napalm Records had hit us up and wanted to offer us to do a new record, and we started talking with them. They were doing that with a few bands from America that were kind of from our genre. So I was like, yeah, you know, music's always been the most important thing to me in my life besides my family. So I had a lot of things created and just in my head, and I needed to get it out. So I was like, well, here's our outlet to do that again. So I checked with my kids and my family, and everybody was pro me doing a record, and I did it.
Awesome.
But yeah, there was a long break there for a long time, and I wasn't sure I was ever going to come back to music. But I just felt compelled to. And then all our fans, with the way the music affects them and it's helped them out throughout their life, I felt an obligation to put out more music, for them and for us.
What was your favorite thing about being back after years away from touring and releasing new music?
Oh, the favorite thing was playing the first show again. We did the tour last, I think, September we started it. And the first show, just seeing all the fans, we've had decent amount of success throughout our life, but not anything uber successful to where we are always detached from our fans with a big barrier or giant stages or big arenas. It's always been theaters and clubs and stuff like that. So we've been, after 20 years of playing shows like that, it's a very intimate thing, and you become attached to the people that are always there for you. So everything just felt like a great family reunion every night at the shows, and it was really cool. And everybody, like me and Sam's our drummer that originated with us, he came back right before the tour started, and we had played hundreds, thousands of shows throughout our career. And when we played that first show, and the ones, after that, they just, every night was the fans, everybody, it seemed like everyone in the room was singing the songs and feeling it and crying and emotional, and it was just, it was the most surreal, awesome performances that we've ever experienced in our career.
You mentioned your fans, and you guys have such loyal fans. I mean, I've seen so many tattoos of your band logo and all those kinds of things. What do you think it is about Cold that has struck such a chord with people?
I think the music definitely, inspires that relationship, with us writing about real life kind of things. Like everything that I've gone through or my band members have gone through, that translates to the songs. So I think writing things like that connects with people. And beyond that connection, it's like I was saying earlier, with being in the smaller venues and stuff, just connecting with people and being kind to everyone. I think that they appreciate that, and spending time with them, and not just being people that play the show and you get on the bus and you disappear and all that. I think just us forming that bond throughout our earlier career helped the success with what it is now, and their loyalty and our loyalty to them.
Well, you're featured on the Breaking Benjamin track So Far, which is all over radio right now, just doing really well. How did that collaboration come about?
It was kind of a funny story. So we were rehearsing for the tour in Pennsylvania, close to Wilkes-Barre, and I hadn't seen Ben. We at our beginning of our career, me and Breaking Benjamin did many tours together, and we're friends and all that. And he, since it was in Pennsylvania, our new guitarist Nick Coyle and Johnny Nova are from Pennsylvania, and they'd grown up with Ben and played in bands with him before, back when they were kids. So they had that relationship also. So when we were rehearsing for the new album, I hadn't talked to Ben in, I'd say, 15 years. And he had found out that we were rehearsing right up on top of the mountain down from where they were playing a big headlining show. And Cold has always been an important thing to Ben when he was starting out. Like, he was telling me stories about him. He used to drive around, listen to Bush and Deftones and Cold, and he would just, sing the songs, and that kind of inspired him throughout his earlier career, and still to this day. So I was kind of like, oh, that's very nice. However, he was like, dude, he goes, I need you. He goes, we're playing down the mountain from you guys. Would you guys like to come down and do a song at the show? And of course, I was like, yeah, okay. So he wants me to get up and do a Breaking Benjamin song with him, just to, whatever, one, I'll learn it and get up there with him. And he was like, no, I want to break in the middle of our set and bring your band out, and I want you guys to do Just Got Wicked, which I've never heard any artist ever do that before, basically stopping their set to bring another band out in the middle of a set. It was kind of like, what? So, and we hadn't practiced, or we'd just started rehearsal, so we really weren't acclimated to playing shows again, especially when there's 20,000 people in front of you. So I was kind of apprehensive about it. I was telling Nick, our guitarist, I was like, dude, I don't know if I can do this tonight. Like, we just got to the rehearsal space. We haven't really gone over that song too much. Like, this is kind of scary, but it's a great opportunity to put Cold back out there, right? Mm-hmm. So, of course, I bit the bullet, and we went down there at like 12 o'clock noon that day. We did a couple of sound checks with them, and their drummer ended up doing the drums for us. So it was Sean playing the drums, and the rest of us playing Just Got Wicked. And Ben came up and sang with us that night. So it was really cool. And that inspired, it helped me and Ben connect again. So after that night, he started calling me a lot, and we started talking about things. And we just started talking about creating music together. And he was like, man, you know what's crazy is I did this acoustic record because then I had like Lacey from Flyleaf, the guy from Red. I've had all these artists come out and sing with me. Adam from, God, what's the name of the band?
Saint Asonia?
Saint Asonia, yes. Adam from Saint Asonia. So I've out he's the guy from Under Oath. Everybody's on it. So because I did this record, it's kind of an acoustic thing that we reimagine the songs, the old Breaking Benjamin songs. However, there's this one song called Far Away that I have never played for anybody before. He goes, and I think that your vocal is going to be perfect for it. So I go, well, dude, he goes, but I know how you are. He goes, I know it has to be an emotional thing for you to do it. So he goes, I'm going to send it to you, and you let me know if it hits you. And he sent me the track, and I listened to the verse going into the chorus. And as soon as the chorus was over, I just clicked stop and called him up. And it was a beautiful song. So I was all in. And I think I did the song in 2 nights while I was rehearsing for Cold for the tour. Sent it to him, and they put it together, and it was beautiful.
Do you think you'll do more with Breaking Benjamin or Ben at any point?
Well, yeah, me and Ben were talking about him producing a song and working on writing stuff with us, for upcoming things. So we'd talked about that before, I can't believe I forgot the Saint Asonia name. That's one of my bands. I'm drawing blanks right now because I'm thinking about coronavirus and everything else.
I know. It's the isolation. It doesn't number.
Right.
So 13 Ways to Bleed on Stage turns 20 this year, which is so wild. What do you remember most? Right? Yeah, what do you remember most from that time kind of in Cold's career?
I think the thing I remember from that time with Cold's career, doing 13 Ways, was we did it in Seattle with Adam Casper. He was the guy that did the last Nirvana tracks. He's done some Foo Fighter records. And we've always loved Seattle and the grunge scene and stuff like that. So we went up to, I think, Soundgarden had recorded in the studio we were in. So we were very stoked to go up there. And we get up there, and they had the WTO riots, I think. I think I'm saying that right, during the time that we were creating the record. And it was insane because every day we would go to the studio, there would be busloads of cops and riot gear and, protesters on one side of the road, cops on the other side of the road. There was shooting gas bombs and stuff into crowds, and we're watching it on the news, and it's happening right outside our door. So that End of the World, all those songs were really inspired by what we were actually watching every day, because it kind of felt like that was happening, even though it was just in Seattle. It set the tone for the country as far as I was concerned, and it was insane. That's the most memorable thing from that whole thing. And just the great things that we got to do after creating that record. We were able to do some really huge concerts and big things.
And Year of the Spider is another one that just in a few years it'll be 20 years old, and that one's a fan favorite. Did you know that record would take off like it did?
I had no idea. The funny thing about it, I was in a hotel one night. We had just played a show. We had played a festival, and the release day was the next day. It was on a Tuesday. I think they only did records on Tuesdays, released them back then. And something happened where I didn't make the bus call, but it wasn't far away to get to the next county. So I was like, I need to sleep. I was tired from touring. So I'm just going to get a car, and it'll take me to the venue the next day, right? So I remember getting in the car and being in the back seat and the record label was blowing up my phone. I hadn't answered it yet because I hadn't really woke up or had my Red Bull or my coffee or whatever. But the phone just keeps blowing up, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I pick it up, and Jen Littleton, our A&R person at Geffen, was like, dude, she goes, number 3 in the country. She goes, for record at number 3. She goes, you're right there. She goes, 50 Cent, Marilyn Manson, Cold.
Wow.
I was like, we had no idea that was going to happen. So yeah, it kind of blew my mind, and yeah, it was a magical thing. It was one of those times, like, you know, when you first hear your song on the radio, it was that amplified times 1,000 to have a record do that well. So yeah, and that the doors that record opened up for us was awesome also.
Well, we of course have to talk about coronavirus. This thing is so terrible and wide-reaching. What are your thoughts on how the coronavirus is impacting musicians and people who tour to make a living?
Yeah, it's really hurtful to all artists, and even not just musicians, but artists in general, painters, people that put on shows, any kind of things, movies. But yeah, specifically to musicians, you know, the crazy thing is we were just starting. Our tour was supposed to start April 2nd, so everything was getting set up. It always takes a couple of months to set up tours. You got to do production. You go through the whole thing, get everybody together for pre-production, for rehearsal, merch, the whole nine. Everything is, you know, you get guarantees from the clubs, so you can get your tour started, get your bus set up, all that stuff. So it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time. So I'm sitting there, and we're doing it. And, you know, everything was set up. We were like, finally, we can release the dates. Everybody started buying tickets, VIPs, all the stuff. Everything was perfect. And then the coronavirus came around, and it started happening. And I think we did it. We put out an announcement a little before other bands did, because we had got like an insider tip that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like everything was about to shut down. My thing was, I was so skeptical about everything because I was like, dude, I'm not going to put my fans in harm's way to play a show. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's no way I want everybody, this thing's real, then I don't want this to happen to our fans. So we kind of preemptively did a post, and we're like, we're just going to cancel the tour. And, you know, we'll keep your tickets and we'll reschedule everything. So, however, you know, it was the great unknown. We don't know when we're going to be able to get back out there and do another tour. Who knows how long this is going to last? It could last a month. It could last 6 months. It could last a year. I don't know. So that's the scary thing. It's like we make our money from touring. That's how I take care of my family. That's how my band members take care of their family. So with that factor gone, we're all in a whirlwind right now, wondering what's going to happen to us. Are we going to be able to pay rent next month? Or, you know, I know Lindsay, our bass player, started doing things like selling cold candles online, and Sam put up a thing where he was doing drum lessons for people. Just, you know, I was thinking about doing a lyric sheet, like doing that to sell to people so we could make ends meet. But there's a part of me with that I feel bad about doing that right now, because I know people are in the same position we are, and I don't want them to have to spend money on something when they don't have it, or they possibly won't have it in a month or from now. So it's like it's all chaotic, you know. We just I don't know what to do, and there's not really, you know, being a musician, it's a little different than having a job and getting released from it, because of course then you can get unemployment and things like that, and it can help you a little bit. Not that helps much, but at least it's something.
Yeah, like even looking back just a month ago, the world was a completely different place.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it just keeps happening every day. Like with the, you know, I don't want to get political and stuff, but I want leadership that, you know, can make us feel safe, and I want leadership that can, you know, set the guidelines to make everything okay. You know, make the mask. If we don't have the mask, make the mask, right?
I know.
What's going on? Okay, China has masks and we're not getting them. Okay, well, aren't we the most innovative country in the world, supposedly, right? That's what everybody's been preaching for years. So let's make some masks, right? Quit talking about the problems of making them and creating them and these things and that things. I'm like, let's just stop doing that and create it. Do it. Go.
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, what are you doing with your unexpected downtime? Are you writing or doing anything like that?
Well, it just happened. This all just, happened a week and a half ago, really, 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, as far as it impacting us and closing things down. So, for the last few days, I'll admit that I've been, attached to watching media and crazy things and trying to figure it out, or at least get some kind of insight on what's going on. Mm-hmm. So, however, now it's time to step away from that, because that's just a lot of extra hysteria that it's creating in my own head for me. So, me and Nick were talking about doing We All Love. Like, I know a lot of artists are starting to sit around their houses and do little shows and things like that for people online. So we're trying to do a creative thing where it's a little different than that. Sounds a little better. It's not just a raw vocal and a raw guitar just sitting there playing a show. So me and him are working on doing a couple of songs and releasing those for people to maybe put a smile on their face, or maybe take them away for 3.5 minutes.
That'd be awesome. I know your fans would really appreciate that. I do see a lot of bands doing that sort of thing too.
Yeah, and it's cool. I love it. I mean, I got on the other day, I was watching John Legend and all kinds of other artists do things, and it was very nice. And I love that they're trying to instill positivity into the world in such a dark time. I know people are stressed out. So the thing with me throughout my life, every time everything's gone dark and stress has come, like, there's always a song that can, alleviate all that for me for just a few minutes, or, it changes your perspective on things sometimes. So that's what music does. So that's what we're planning on doing. I mean, we want to stay interactive with our fans through all this and make sure they're all okay. And we just want to, share with them what we're really going through.
Well, Scooter, it's been great. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good, Anne. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. I hope you guys are safe through everything.
Thank you. I hope that you are too. I hope that everyone in the cold camp stays safe.
It's the cutting edge of new music and the forefront of rock. It's Audio Inc. with Anne.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Audio Inc. Radio Podcast. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. Get inked online at audioinkradio.com. I'm Anne Erickson for the Audio Inc. Radio Podcast.